harmonization of chemical management and wastewater discharge criteria. Is this something that needs to happen?
Yes, it does. We've come a long way. I'm a big proponent of harmonization, and it's something that I've lived my life by. I'm one of the friendlier consultants out there, and that I'm probably the only one that actually trains my competition. Luckily, I still have a job, but I'm known to actually work, and I actually work with a big competitor of mine, NSF International, and I've brought them into the fold, so to speak, of pushing harmonized hazard-based methodologies, and I think it's possible. And I think when someone like myself does someone a good turn, they in turn will train someone else. And it's something that I kind of hold my competition up to. If I'm willing to show them all of my secret sauce and what's under the hood, I expect them to do the same. And as we've grown in mutual respect, it's becoming more common, and it's really needed so that it's driving suppliers crazy, that I can say something's safe, someone else says something's not safe, and we'll get nowhere. So we need to have lots of harmonization.
If you look at the organizations working with chemical management, do you think those initiatives are helping drive the harmonization?
No, I think the biggest players driving harmonization are the brands, and they're requiring it, along with little nudges from people like myself, but it's the brands that are saying, everyone needs to work together, you're working for us, and you're a team. So I was a college athlete, and I like team playing, I like competition, and it's the brands that are pushing everyone together. Right now it's somewhat a surly team, but people are starting to get along, and friendships are forming, and that's really important, that's needed.
So how valuable or important are things like the ZDHC or SAC?
It's key, because you have players from different parts of the world, different time zones. We have to have somewhere to congregate and work around. So it's been really instrumental, and I've enjoyed starting to become part of their activities.
What is your organization doing in terms of reducing the impact of textile chemistry and excessive water use?
So water use is obviously, that's why I'm speaking this afternoon. There's way too much of it being used. I'm working with some big ZDHC brands to start assessing, in terms of chemical hazards, newer formulations that supposedly decrease the use of water. The challenge with some of those is that their safety data sets are not as tested as some of the conventional formulations. So it's really part of the big picture of looking at sustainability. If something isn't hazard-free, but you use 50% less water, is that formulation truly more sustainable? It's a discussion we're starting to have. And so it's been fun to try and work with people who they're not considered conventional formulations, and they feel that they're more sustainable. Well, I'm putting them through the same paces as all the other conventional textile auxiliaries. And hopefully some of the first formulations we're assessing are now being vetted by the brands, so that as they move into the different mills and laundries, we'll start seeing an impact on water reduction. Right now, a lot of those formulations are still being assessed for, are they really safe? Are they sustainable? So it's still really new in the process.
Do you have a view on how the industry can improve its traceability when it comes to tracing textile chemicals or sourcing them?
Yes, I say to people, you have to walk before you can run. Every single supplier should have a GHS compliant safety data sheet, number one. Because if you don't know what's in the formulation, there's absolutely no way we can trace it. So start with that. Then test the formulation. If they say that they're selling you a new water repellent for and it's not perfluorinated, go out and test it. I'm happy to give anyone the names of 5 labs that'll do that for you. It's important to know if someone says something's more sustainable or safer, that someone like a brand, who I work for many brands, they're able to actually verify. So trust and verify is what I say too.
If you could improve only one thing, right? You had one choice to improve during the next 5 years to scale up the harmonization of chemical management across the supply chain. What would you choose to focus on?
I would focus on brands getting together and agreeing upon specific endpoints that they all need to follow in terms of assessing textile auxiliaries. What are the important endpoints that everyone can agree on? Right now, everyone's talking about the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Goal number 12 is something every single textile auxiliary manufacturer needs to aspire to. We all have to look at the endpoints for human health and environmental fate and toxicity equally. So if I could have anything, I'd say we have to balance both human health and environmental fate and toxicity equally among all of the paradigms that are being used out there among, for example, ZDHC brands, and it's not done evenly. One of the paradigms I work under, it started with Levi's Green Chemistry. We look forward, we assess formulations going forward. That being said, there's still a need to have restricted substances lists because as part of our screening, for example, we found another 300 chemicals that don't belong in the supply chain whatsoever. They're chemicals of concern. They harm human health or they harm the environment. So I feel it's a mixture of both. We can all agree upon there are certain chemicals we don't want to use. But my paradigm, and there are 4 others out there that are looking and assessing formulations going forward so that people can know, look, these are good formulations, and there are a lot of good formulations out there. Now the key we're doing is looking, are they safer and do they use less water? Because we need to have both ideally. Can't just be safe and then you use 3 times as much water as a conventional. We really need to incorporate both. So if we can still have, the ZDHC concept is still sound, there are some things that we shouldn't use, in my opinion. And then going forward, as people formulate better, cheaper ideally, and using less water, someone like myself who's impartial, I'm just a toxicologist, I'm a scientist, I'm not a business person, I can say, in my opinion, this is safer, and ideally this uses less water, so that brands can know what's being used to make their fabrics is really, truly sustainable.